with us today is a candidate for Congressional District Number 4, representing Northeast Florida. And this candidate will be going to Washington to represent us all. LaShonda Holloway, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Fred Matthews. It's always a pleasure to be on your show, to my way of thinking, if you will. Notwithstanding any of that, I want to say that the newly drawn district is, of course, a district that disenfranchised many Black voters. However, it encompasses all of Nassau County, all of Clay County, and parts of Duval County.
What is the state of our country right now?
The state of our country right now is really in crisis. I like to call it lawfare because we see every day that they are overturning laws every day or creating laws that are not in the best interest of the people. We see our democracy being dismantled daily.
Well, we see it being dismantled, but you're going to be a part of the solution here. What kind of fixes do you see need to go in play? What might you introduce legislatively to help keep things together?
Well, one of the first laws that I plan to get behind day one is the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Act. We must ensure that every American has the right to vote, starting at age 18. The Voting Rights Act must be passed, and that's why it's so very important during this particular midterm that people get out the vote so that we can have a secure majority, not only in the Senate, but also to have a House that will pass the Voting Rights Act. It's so very important for Americans to participate in our democracy. Moreover, you may or may not know that I worked on Capitol Hill for Congresswoman Carrie Meek, and I hope that I am chosen by the leader to get on the Ways and Means Committee. It's so very important to understand not only civil procedure, but to understand our Constitution and also to understand the rules associated that govern our particular country. So yes, those are two of the things I plan to do, is to make sure that we have legal protections to prevent some of the atrocious and very egregious procedures that are happening in our country, in particular in Washington.
Let's get to some other issues here. Where are you on abortion? Because many of these issues are being settled state by state. Voting rights, the Supreme Court essentially handed the issue of abortion back to the states. But where are you on abortion rights, or the right to choose?
So where I am on abortion rights is I believe that there should be bodily autonomy. And I also believe that, look, the government has no place in a person's doctor's office, nor does the government have a place in a person's bedroom. So I am pro-choice and believe that all Americans should have access to health care and should have reproductive rights.
Where are you on gun control?
Absolutely on gun control. I do believe in what the Second Amendment states. I am a gun owner. However, people always say, or quote the right to bear arms, but they forget that part that says a well-regulated militia. I believe that we should have a well-regulated militia and that guns should be regulated. We know that cars are a very dangerous instrumentality, and so are assault weapons. We know that the number of mass shootings go down when we ban assault weapons. But for those people who insist upon having assault weapons, then insist upon having it registered, having insurance on it, and making sure that, look, you have liability insurance. You have liability insurance on your car. You have to take a class for safety before you have to have a class on safety before you drive. That's called a driver's license, right? You have to pass that test. So why don't we make sure that people get a background screening and that they, one, have a class on safety before they get a gun. In Japan, Look, there's 13 steps you have to go through before you can even get an assault weapon. And I believe in a country like ours with as many mass shootings as we have in this country, that we should regulate assault weapons. More importantly, I do believe that we have to hold gun manufacturers accountable. We must not continue to give them immunity. We must hold gun manufacturers accountable. With these ghost guns, they can mail parts to people. And so we don't know how many guns are out there without a serial number, because these gun manufacturers are sending parts to who knows who and what kind of weapons they are building just from parts. So we have to hold manufacturers accountable.
Are you in favor of outlawing these do-it-yourself guns you could make at home with your 3D printer?
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. We have to hold the manufacturers accountable. They are shipping these parts. So if you insist upon shipping parts without serial numbers to know who has what type of part, absolutely. We have to stop that. We have to hold gun manufacturers accountable. They're called ghost guns for a reason.
Are you okay with open carry? There's some discussion about having that here in the state of Florida. They basically can do it in Texas, but that's out west where they've just about always been able to carry the gun on a holster. But are you okay?
It goes back to my first statement when I said we should have it well regulated. So absolutely not. I do believe, just like I believe that we should have serial numbers and know, look, who's registered and who owns assault weapons. I do believe that we should have regulations surrounding, look, who carries a gun, as we currently have in the state of Florida. That is a law that's regulated to the states, because here's what's going to happen. If we have open carry, Florida is a stand your ground state. You are going to see more deaths where people will say they were in fear of their life and they were standing their ground. Florida is a stand your ground state, and we cannot allow open carry with stand your ground still on the books.
Where is LaShonda Holloway as a congresswoman? Are you on the right? Are you progressive? Are you in the I can't remember her name, Ocasio-Cortez group, along with Bernie Sanders? Are you in the Manchin group? Where are you in?
I am with neither. I am with neither. I am for the people. I believe that we should put people over politics. So you can call me a moderate or you can call me a centrist, but I don't like labels. What I would like to be called is a congressperson who represents the people of the newly drawn 4th Congressional District, who serves at the will of the people. A government is only as strong as the people it represents. I worked on Capitol Hill for Congresswoman Carrie Meek, and I earned my law degree from the University of Florida. But more importantly, I learned the preamble to the Constitution when I was in 5th grade at United States Elementary School there in Jacksonville. And I will tell you that I believe that we can form a more perfect union. And yes, there will have to be compromise. Yes, there will have to be conversations. But more importantly, we need people to represent people in Congress who govern not for the powerful, but who govern for the people.
Now, when you arrive in Washington, you're going to be about 10, sometimes, some cases, maybe even 20 years younger than the leadership that's in place right now. And they have a set of ideas and things that some people believe are getting kind of passé. And quite frankly, even though the Democrats have enjoyed a majority for the first 2 years of the Biden administration, they enjoyed a majority for the first 2 years of the Obama administration. But they still had trouble getting key pieces of legislation passed, such as the things that we've just talked about. Are you going to be, how do you feel about the current leadership in the House? Is it time for a change? Is it time for a change? Or would there be, would you support a change, or you're going to wait and see?
Absolutely. I am running because I am the change. This is not my first run for Congress, and I have seen the need for change even when I worked on Capitol Hill. What you see, unfortunately, is people who are far removed from the people who are in the districts. You see inside the Beltway, people are a part of that microcosm. What happens in the members' dining room is Democrats and Republicans are friends. And the reality is, you have people in districts who don't speak to their neighbor because they are a member of a different party. We have to remember that in this country, we should be the United States. Moreover, all of my life, I've been a consensus builder. I plan to be a consensus builder, not just with parties, but also with people. You know, baby boomers and Gen Z both have something to contribute to not only our country and this economy. We need consensus builders to build a more perfect union. I believe in liberty and justice for all. So whether you are 17 or 79, I believe that all persons should engage in our democracy. And so that's where I come in. I fit in the middle, and I plan to not only build a consensus, but I also want all Americans to be engaged in our democracy.
Mm. Let's roll back a bit. You've already touched this part of this question already, but I want you to name 3 priorities for you in legislation once you hit the ground in Washington. What are 3 priorities?
My 3 top priorities is we need an economy where every American feels secure regardless of their zip code. That's number 1, because people won't engage in a democracy if they feel unsecure or insecure, if you will. So that's number 1. The second thing is we need access to healthcare. I had a brain tumor, could not walk or talk, and I paid $2,500 a month for my injections. The average American cannot afford to pay $2,500 a month for injections. And we just saw at the height of the pandemic how many Americans don't have access to health care. But last, affordable housing. We have seniors who have fixed incomes who can't afford to remain in their homes. And we have young people who are graduating from college who can't afford to purchase a home. So we need to make sure that we have legal protections, not only for a strong, robust economy, but we also need to make sure that we have legal protections for access to health care and affordable housing.
Mm. So who is L.J. Holloway? You're a great spokesperson, but exactly who is L.J. Holloway? And why are you?
So I don't consider myself a spokesperson. I consider myself to be a divine original, willing to do the impossible to achieve the inevitable for the will of the people. That's who I am. That's who I've always been. Yes, am I poised and positioned to represent the people of the newly drawn 4th Congressional District? Absolutely. We are a nation of laws. And of course, because we are a nation of laws and Congress is the federal level, earning my law degree from the University of Florida, I do have federal experience. I not only work for the United States Environmental Protection Agency, and we do need clean air and clean water, but I also negotiated the largest deal in history at United States Customs. And that's why I am running to represent the people. I would hope that your listeners will vote L.J. Holloway for a better day, because our country is in crisis.
Amen.